You're welcome to the Making of Me podcast. Today I'm joined by Teresa Bergen, a travel writer, long-time sober person, and author of Sober Travel Handbook. Teresa helps people see that life, adventure, and travel don't stop when alcohol does. It's really a pleasure having you on the show, Teresa.
Thanks so much, Aro. I'm thrilled to be here.
Teresa, in one sentence, what challenge shaped you into who you are today?
I had challenges early on with alcohol and other substances, but I was really fortunate to address my problems when I was still a young person, and I've been lucky to have a really good, full life. So I've had all the normal challenges that people have in life, but I've just been able to deal with most of them without alcohol or other drugs.
Amazing. Looking back, what was the turning point that made recovery possible for you?
Well, I was super lucky because I came from a nice family. Like my mom and my dad were there for me. I have two wonderful sisters. And it was, you hear stories of really dysfunctional families where people don't know better, but I had good role models. So it was just my problem. It wasn't anything that they did to me. So I was lucky that when I started to realize I was really going the wrong direction, I could see that there was a better way and that I had plenty of examples in my life to follow.
When did you realize that travel could actually support your sobriety instead of threatening it?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, because there is like a big vision of people are like, oh, I'm going to cut loose. I'm in a different place. I'm going to be wild. I'm going to drink by the pool. I'm going to Vegas. All this kind of
Yeah.
stuff. I guess because I'm really interested in other cultures and also I've developed more of an interest in nature over the years. Those are things that don't really go that well with drinking. I mean, you can go to another culture and get drunk with somebody, but is that really a bond? I feel like I have more of a bond learning about people from different
Yeah.
places by talking to them without getting drunk and forgetting everything.
What was the moments on the road where staying sober felt especially empowering?
Well, there were some times where it felt close that I might drink. And I guess it was empowering to survive those moments without. And usually it was because I had help from somebody. So I think some of the empowering moments are when you feel kind of weak and you feel scared and you're like, I've got to do it all myself. But instead, you turn to somebody else and you get support. Either if it's somebody you already know, like a trusted person in your family or a friend, or sometimes you might just find somebody along the way. And you could say, depending on your beliefs, you could say, like, God put this person in my life to intervene, or fate, or luck, or something. So I think it's empowering when you feel kind of weak, but then you get help and then you feel strong from getting the help of another person.
When alcohol is everywhere, airport, hotel, wedding, what is your go-to mindset for staying low?
Well, that's a good question too, because I have this feeling like not everything in the world is for all of us. So I just have to think of alcohol as something that's just not for me. Like there's certain things for me and certain things that aren't. So I try to so it's sort of like walking on a tightrope. Sometimes like you're like, la la, that's not for me. That's not for me. So I just try to focus on what is for me and disregard what isn't. So, like, if
Wow.
I'm in the airport and there's, everyone's drinking at the hotel bar, maybe I go look for a delicious snack item, or I look for
Yeah.
something that is for me, or I just go refill my water bottle, or I read a book, or I charge my devices. I try to think of what's going to be useful in my life and my travels and not get derailed by, the temptation of alcohol everywhere.
Amazing. How do you handle social pressure when people don't know or don't respect that you don't drink?
If I'm going somewhere that's going to be a social place, sometimes I'll tell people ahead. Like I'm a travel writer, so I go on a lot of press trips
Yeah.
where I'll be with other travel writers. So I get contacted by PR people. So I'll tell them ahead of time. I'll say, look, I don't drink. Is that going to be a problem? Because sometimes it is. Sometimes people want to show off their wine region or something like that. So I just tell them ahead of time. And if they say it's a problem, I don't go. Or if I'm going to get together with friends somewhere, I mean, most of my friends know I don't drink, but sometimes it is really uncomfortable. Like I had an experience a few years ago when I was going to be a bridesmaid for my friend in the Virgin Islands, and she had people staying in two different places, and somehow I ended up staying with all the hard partying guys. And they expected I was going to drink with them. And I had to be like, no, 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 no. And it was kind of uncomfortable, but I just had to,
Yeah.
no, not for me. You guys have fun. I'm going to go over here. So it's
Wow. That
ahead of time. But sometimes you'll be in an uncomfortable situation and you just have to stick to saying, no, no, thank you. No, thank you. No, no. And they might ask you 10
yeah.
times. and you just keep saying no.
Yeah, amazing, amazing, amazing. That's really amazing. So, what inspired you to write your book, Sober Travel Handbook, and who did you write it?
Okay, well, that's interesting too. So I got the idea a few years ago. I was on a road trip with my husband, and it just kind of popped in my head because I've been sober for a really long time, and I've been a travel writer for about 15 years. And I started to think like, well, maybe there's other people like me who find this as inconvenient sometimes and find it's a problem. So I started thinking about it, and at first I kind of thought it's a dumb idea. There's not a market for it. Who cares? But as I started to talk to more, I realized there were other people too who were traveling sober for various reasons. Now, some people are sober because they had an alcohol problem and they're in recovery. But then I started to learn that there's a lot of other people who consider themselves sober travelers too. And it might be because they have a religious reason they don't drink. A lot of religions, alcohol is kind of frowned upon. Or maybe they have a health reason, they have a medication interaction, they're pregnant, they just have some personal reason they don't drink. So I realized that the market of people who weren't drinking was wider than I first expected. People who are in recovery, they have the highest stakes of if we drink by accident on the road, we relapse. It's a big deal. So that's kind of my primary market is people in recovery. But my secondary market is people who don't drink for whatever other reason, because even if they don't have the high stakes of relapsing, they might find it uncomfortable or boring to be around people who just drink all the time. And
Mm.
and they also miss out on a sense of belonging, which is important. Sometimes you feel like you're the odd one out if you're the only person who isn't drinking.
Yeah, yeah, amazing. I think earlier on your strategy of just make reference of when you have a friend who are going for party when it comes to peer pressure, the fact that you actually ask the question, is it going to be a problem if I don't drink? That one really stood out to me because me personally I don't drink too, and it's a way of just escaping the pressure and the fact that you already make your stand no from the head start. Yeah, just writing the book and yeah, being more like a book to actually help a whole lot of persons who are actually more like looking forward to sobriety and those who just don't want to at all. It's really, really amazing. Yeah, thanks for the amazing things you do.
Yeah, and some activities are more alcohol intensive than others, and sometimes the feelings are really strong. If you go to a wedding or if you go to a funeral, like
Yeah,
I remember at my grandmother's wake, I came so close to drinking because the feelings were so sad. I hadn't been sober for that long; it had just been a couple of years, and I was so sad and overwhelmed, and I really wanted to drink because there was not. She was an Irish lady, and so for her wake, it was mostly just Irish whiskey. Like there was like bottles of Irish whiskey everywhere. I really wanted to drink one. But fortunately, I got support from my dad in that case, and he backed me up and was, he just stuck right by me until the urge passed. So that was really important.
yeah.
But also, like
Wow.
people, I don't know if you have these in Nigeria, but in the US, they have bachelor and bachelorette parties. So these are before people get married, and people do really stupid things on them and get really.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah, yeah, so true. Yeah, so true. Sometimes they even make it more like a competition where they say, yeah, true or dare. Once you miss the particular question being posed at you, you end up drinking. I keep drinking. I keep drinking. So it a whole lot of crazy stuff people actually do out there, especially when it comes to party and when it comes to celebrations. Yeah.
Yeah, and it looks worse
Um.
the older you get too. I quit drinking when I was still a young girl, and people were kind of like, "Oh, that's sort of cute when you're like a young guy or a young girl." But the older you
Yeah.
get, the more pathetic it looks. I feel really
Yeah. So true.
bad I quit early because you don't want to be
Yeah.
out in public. Like in my age, I'm in my 50s. I want to be like a dignified, responsible person in my community. I don't want to be walking around out of my head doing stupid things and having people think poorly of me. You know what I mean? I would say prepare a support system. Have somebody at home, whether it's your friend or your mom, or if you're in a 12-step group, your sponsor, somebody like that. Have somebody that you plan to check in with every day. So it could just be a text. It doesn't have to be a long phone conversation unless you get in trouble and you need it. But just somebody that you say, hey, I'm doing okay. I'm in this place. I'm not drinking. So it's some having a little bit of accountability because sometimes we go somewhere different and we can think, nobody knows me. I can do whatever I want and nobody's going to know the difference. But we know the difference. Oh, it's so true. It's so funny because we sometimes we think if we quit drinking, we're going to have nothing. We're going to lose our friends. But when you look at it from the outside, if you look at somebody who really drinks a lot, usually their world is small already because they're limited by their addiction. Like maybe they're just seeing the same people and they're going to the same bar and they're drinking the same drink all the time. Their world isn't very big. So at first, when you take that away, you feel like you have nothing because that was all you had. But if you stick with it, you can explore all kinds of new things. Like it's been such a gift to me that I've had a chance to try lots of things because you don't always know what you even like if all you do is drink. So, like my friend, Lucy, she has a travel company called Hooked Alcohol Free Travel, and she talks about how she would have thought bird watching was really boring when she was drunk, but she's discovered that that's a fun thing to do. Me, I've discovered I like to do all kinds of water sports I never did before. Like I like to kayak and swim. And just 2 years ago, I got certified as a scuba diver, which I never knew I was even interested in. So you find, like if you're sitting at a bar all the time, you're not going to even discover these things that you might be interested in. So your life can for sure get a lot bigger if you stop drinking.
For someone planning their first alcoholic or free trip, what is one simple thing they should prepare for in advance?
One of the most important things is to have a support system at home. So before you leave, think about somebody you trust. It could be a friend, it could be a family member. If you're in a 12-step group, maybe it's your sponsor or a peer who's also quit drinking. And just plan to check in with them every day for accountability. So it doesn't have to be a long phone conversation
Yeah.
unless you're in trouble and you need it, but just something like a text every day. You say, hey, I'm still here, having a good time, everything's going all right. Because sometimes we go somewhere different and we think, oh, we don't know anybody, they don't know about my little problem, I can do what I want and get away with it. But you're still going to know. Like I'm going to know when I go home, and I'm going to be the one that has to live with my
Yeah.
disappointment. I pick up a drink.
Amazing. So today, how do you define a full life? And what would you say out to someone who fears everything will make their world smaller?
Yeah, it's funny because the world of somebody who drinks a lot usually is small already, but they might not even notice it because you're
Yeah.
doing the same thing with your friends. Like you're probably going out with the same friends to the same bars, drinking the same drinks, talking about the same things. And you feel like if you stop that, you're going to have nothing. And at first, it might feel like that because you don't know what to replace it with. But
Yeah.
there are a million things to replace drinking with. And the longer you stay off alcohol, the more things you can discover. So, like for me, I've discovered a love of water sports I never would have had before. I joined a local swimming group, and in the summer, we swim together in the river, which I never would have been getting up at 7 a.m. to swim in the river with a
Yeah.
bunch of people when I was drunk, you know? I've also discovered that I like to kayak and paddleboard. And just 2 years ago, I suddenly decided to get certified as a scuba diver, which was a whole new thing for me.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, so just give
Amazing.
yourself a chance to learn new, to discover new things you might have no idea you're even interested in doing.
For my audience who want to reach out to you, who wants to learn more, where should they reach out to you and where is the best platform to do this?
Oh, we could go to my website, which is teresabergen.com, just like my name. And wait, I have a copy of my book right here. Here's my new little book, Sober Travel Handbook. So you can find that
Yeah.
here if you want some more tips. You can find that through my website. But I would want your audience most to know that if they're feeling discouraged that they have a dependence on alcohol, there is a chance to stop and you can have a better life if you do it.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much, Teresa. Thank you for showing us that. Yeah, sobriety doesn't limit your life. It expounds it. For everyone listening, check out Sober Travel Handbook and connect with Teresa to learn how to explore the world with clarity, confidence, and freedom. It's really a pleasure having you on the show. And definitely, the link to your website is going to be on the show notes so that our audience could actually peruse it. Yeah, this has been the Making of Me podcast. And once again, it's really, really a pleasure and an honor having you on the show, Teresa.
Thanks for having me, Aro.